I'm sorry it was not recorded, so I have to go back and read again. Let me start from the beginning. Right. This is the book we are reading. This is the third day. Choose Your WoW, a disciplined agile delivery handbook for optimizing your way of working by Scott W. Ambler and Mark Lyons. We were discussing the various principles on page 32. So we'll get back to it. Okay. So the principles we are going to be discussing, and we are discussing already, we have done almost the second one. They were delight customers, be awesome, context counts, be pragmatic, choice is good, optimize flow, organize around products and services, and enterprise awareness. We were uh, on the end of the second principle, and that I will start reading from here. Awesome teams also choose to build quality in from the very beginning. Lean tells us to fix any quality issues and the way we work that cause them, instead of debating which bugs we can fix over for later. We want to learn how to avoid them completely. As we are working toward this, we work in such a way that we do a bit of work, validate it, fix any issues, and we find and then iterate. The Agile Manifesto is clear that continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. Senior leadership within our organization can enable staff to be awesome individuals working on awesome teams by providing them with the authority and resources required for them to do their job. By building a safe culture and environment, see next principle, and by motivating them to excel. People are motivated by being provided with autonomy to do their work, having opportunities to master their craft and to do something that has purpose. What would you rather have? Staff who are motivated or demotivated? Third principle, context counts. Every person is unique with their own set of skills, preferences for work style, career goals, and learning styles. Every team is unique not only because it is composed of unique people, but also because it faces a unique situation. Our organization is also unique. Even when there are other organizations that operate in the same marketplace that we do, for example, automobile manufacturers such as Ford, Audi, and Tesla all build the same category of product, yet it isn't much of a stretch to claim that they are very different companies. These observations that people, teams, and organizations are all unique lead to a critical idea that our process and organization structure must be tailored for the situation that we currently face. In other words, context counts. Figure 2.2, adopted from the Software Development Context Framework, CDCF, shows that there are several context factors that affect how a team chooses its WoW. The factors are organized into two categories: factors which have a significant impact on our choice of life cycle, more on this in chapter 6, and factors that motivate our choice of practice oblique strategies. The practice oblique strategy selection factor are a superset of the life cycle selection factor. For example, a team of 8 people working in a common team room on a very complex domain problem in a life critical regulatory situation will organize themselves differently and will choose to follow different practices than a team of 50 people spread out across a corporate campus on a complex problem in a non-regulatory situation. Although these two teams could be working for the same company, they could choose to work in a very different ways. This is the diagram, figure 2.2, context factors that affect WoW choices. First of all, on top, it has life cycle selection, and bottom, you have practice strategy selection. As far as the life cycle selection is concerned, We have team skills from high to low, team culture from flexible to rigid, or otherwise I should say from rigid to flexible, organization culture from rigid to flexible, nature of the problems from single release to decomposable, business constraints rigid to flexible. So this is the context factor when choosing a WoW from the life cycle selection point of view. And if we look at the context on the practice public strategy selection, we have team size from 2 to 1000, geographic distribution from co-located to global, organizational distribution from single division to outsourcing, compliance from none to life critical, domain complexity from straightforward to very complex, and technical complexity from straightforward to very complex. There are several interesting implications of figure 2.2. First, the further on the right on each selection factor, the greater the risk faced by a team. For example, it's much riskier to outsource than it is to build our own internal team. A team with a lower set of skills is a riskier proposition than a highly skilled team. A large team is a much riskier proposition than a small team. A life critical regulatory situation is much riskier than a financial critical situation, which in turn is riskier than facing no regulations at all. Second, because team is different in different situations, will need to choose to work in a manner that is appropriate for the situation that they face to help them tailor their approach effectively. We need to give them choices. Third, anyone interacting with multiple teams need to be flexible enough to work with each of those teams appropriately. For example, we will govern that small co-located life critical team differently than the medium-sized team spread across the campus. Similarly, an enterprise architect who is supporting both teams will collaborate differently with each. Scrum provides what used to be solid guidance for delivering value in an agile manner, but it is officially described by only a 19-page booklet, Scrum Guide. Disciplined Agile recognizes that enterprise complexities require far more guidance and thus provides a comprehensive reference toolkit for adopting our Agile approach for our unique context in a straightforward manner. Being able to adopt our approach for our context with a variety of choices rather than standardizing on one method or framework is a good thing, and we explore that further below. Next principle we have is being pragmatic. Let me so we were talking about principle, be pragmatic. Many agilists are quite fanatical about following specific methods strictly. In fact, we have met many who say that to do agile right, we need to have 5 to 9 people in a room with a business product owner present at all times. The team should not be disturbed by people outside the team and should be 100% dedicated to the project. However, in many established enterprises, such ideal conditions rarely exist. The reality is that we have to deal with many suboptimal situations, such as distributed teams, large team sizes, outsourcing, multiple team coordination, part-time availability of stakeholders. Disciplined Agile recognizes these realities, and rather than saying we can't be agile in these situations, we instead say, let's be pragmatic and aim to be as effective as we can. Instead of prescribing best practices, disciplined Agile provides strategies for maximizing the benefits of Agile despite certain necessary compromises being made. As such, disciplined Agile is pragmatic, not purist in its guidance. Disciplined Agile provides guide rails to help us make better process choices. No strict rules that may not even be applicable given the context that we face. Next principle is choice is good. Let's assume that our organization has multiple teams working in a range of situations, which in fact is the norm for all but the smallest of companies. How do we define a process that applies to each and every situation that covers the range of issues faced by each team? How do we keep it up to date as each team learns and evolves their approach? The answer is that we can't. Documenting such a process is exponentially expensive. But does that mean we need to inflict the same prescriptive process on everyone? When we do that, we will inflict process dissonance in our teams, decreasing their ability to be effective and increasing the chance that they invest resources in making it look as if they are following the process when in reality they are not. Or does that mean we just have a process free for all and tell all our teams to figure it out on their own? Although this can work, it tends to be very expensive and time consuming in practice. Even with coaching, each team is forced to invent or discover the practices and strategies that have been around for years, sometimes decades. Developing new product, service, and software in a complex endeavor, that means we can never know for sure what's going to happen. There are many layers of activities going on at the same time, and it's hard to see how each relates to the other. Systems are holistic and not understandable just by looking at their components. Instead, we look at how the components of the system interact with each other. Consider a car, for example. While cars have components, the car itself is also about how the car's components interact with each other. For example, putting a bigger engine in a car might make the car unstable if the frame can't support it, or even dangerous if the brakes are no longer sufficient. When making improvement to how we work, we must consider the following: how many people interact with each other, how work being done in one part of the system affects the work in others, how people learn, and how people in the system interact with people outside of the system. These interactions are unique to a particular organization. The principle of context counts means we must make intelligent choices based on the situation we are in. But how? We first recognize that we are not trying to figure out the best way to do things up front, but rather create a series of steps, each either making improvements on what we are doing or by learning something that will increase the likelihood of improvement in the next time. Each step in this series is presented as a hypothesis, that is conjecture, that it will be an improvement if we can accomplish it. If we get improvement, we are happy and can go on to the next step. If we don't, we should ask why didn't. Our effort should lead to either improvement or learning, which then sets up the next improvement action. We can think of this as a scientific approach, as we are trying actions and validating them. The cause may be that we took the wrong action, people didn't accept it, or it was beyond our capability. Here is an example. Let's say that we see our people are multitasking a lot. Multitasking is usually caused by people working on too many things that they are not able to finish quickly. This causes them to go from one task to another and injects delays in their workflow as well as anyone depending upon them. How to stop this multitasking depends on the cause or causes of it. They are often clear or can be readily discerned, even if you are not sure. Trying something based on what's worked in similar situations in the past often achieves good results or learning. The salient aspect of disciplined Agile is that we use practices that are germane to our situation. And in order to do that, we need to know what practices exist that we could choose from. Different contexts require different strategies. Teams need to be able to own their own process and to experiment to discover what works in practice for them given the situation that they face. As we learned in chapter 1, DAD provides 6 life cycles for teams to choose from and 21 process goals that guide us towards choosing the right practices or strategies for our team Given the situation that we face, yes, it seemed a bit complicated at first, but this approach proves to be straightforward strategy to help address the complexities faced by solution delivery teams. Think of DAD and DA in general as the scaffolding that support our efforts in choosing and evolving our WoW. This choice-driven strategy is a middle way. At one extreme, we have prescriptive methods which have their place, such as Scrum, extreme programming, SAFe, which tells us one way to do things, regardless of what the detractors of these methods claim. These methods oblique frameworks do in fact work quite well in some situations. And as long as we find ourselves in that situation, they'll work well for us. However, if we are not in the situation where a certain method fits, then it will likely do more harm than good. At the other extreme, are creating our own methods while looking at our challenges, creating new practices based on principle, and trying them as experiments and learning as we go. This is how methods that tell us to experiment and learn as we go develop that approach. This works well in practice, but can be very expensive, time consuming, and can lead to significant inconsistencies between teams, which hamper our overall organizational process. Spotify had the luxury of evolving their process within the context of a product company, common architecture, no technical debt, and a culture that they could grow rather than change. Not to mention several in house experts. Disciplined Agile sits between these two extremes. By taking this process goal driven approach, it provides process commonality between teams that is required at the organizational level, yet provide teams with flexible and straightforward guidance that is required to tailor and evolve their internal processes to address the context of the situation that they face. Teams can choose from known strategies the likely options to then experiment with, increasing the chance that they find something that works for them in practice. A little bit about Spotify. Spotify, like other models, is a great resource of potential ideas that we have mined in DA. We have particularly found their experimental approach to process improvement, which we have evolved into guided experiments in chapter 1 to be useful. Unfortunately, many organizations try to adopt the Spotify method verbatim, which is exactly what the Spotify people tell us not to do. The Spotify method was great for them in their context several years ago. They are clear that if we are copying what they did then, that is not Spotify now. Our context, even if we happen to be a Swedish online music company, is different. At a minimum, it at least makes it clear that they have choices, that there is more than the one we described by the prescriptive methods. People are often surprised when we suggest the mainstream method such as Scrum and extreme programming as prescriptive, but they are indeed. Scrum mandates a daily stand-up meeting, a Scrum no longer than 15 minutes to which all team members must attend. That teams must have a retrospective at the end of each iteration sprint, and that team size should not be more than 9 people. Extreme programming prescribes pair programming, 2 people sharing one keyboard, and test driven development. Granted, both of these are great practices in the right context. We are not suggesting that prescription is a bad thing. We are merely stating that it does exist. In order to provide people with choices from they can choose their way of working, DA has gathered strategies and put them into context from a wide array of sources. An important side effect of doing so is that it quickly forced us to take an agnostic approach. In DA, we have combined strategies from methods, frameworks, bodies of knowledge, books, and our practical experiences helping organizations to improve, and many other sources. These sources are use different terminology, sometimes overlap with each other, have different scopes, are based on different mindsets, and quite frankly, often contradict each other. Chapter 3 goes into greater detail about how DA is a hybrid toolkit that provides agnostic process advice. As described earlier, leadership should encourage experimentation early in the interest of learning and improving as quickly as possible. However, we would suggest that by referencing the proven strategies in disciplined agile, we will make better choices for our context, speeding up process improvement through failing less. Better choices lead to better outcomes earlier. Next principle is optimize flow. Although Agile sprang from lean thinking in many ways, the principles of flow look to be transcending both. Don Reinson, in Principles of Product Development Flow, second edition, provides more direct actions we can take to accelerate value realization. Looking at the flow of value enables teams to collaborate in a way as to effectively implement our organization's value streams, although each team may be but one part of the value stream, they can see how they might align with others to maximize the realization of value. The implications is that as an organization, we need to optimize our workflow, overall workflow. Disciplined agile supports strategies from agile, lean, and flow to do so. Number one is to optimize the whole. Disciplined agile teams work in an enterprise aware manner. They realize that their team is one of the many teams within their organization, and as a result, they should work in such a way as to do what is best for the overall organization and not just what is convenient for them. More importantly, they strive to streamline the overall process to optimize the whole, as the lean canon advises us to do. This includes finding ways to reduce the overall cycle time, the total time from the beginning to the end of the process, to provide value to a customer. Second point is measure what counts. Renestant exhaustion, exhortation. If you only quantify one thing, quantify the cost of delay. Provides an across the organization view what to optimize. Cost of delay. Is the cost to a business in value when a product is delayed? As an organization or as a value stream within an organization, and even at the team level, we will have outcomes that we want to achieve. Some of these outcomes will be customer focused and some will be improvement focused. Often stemming from improvement, customer focused outcomes, our measures should be to assist in improving outcomes or in improving our ability to deliver better outcomes. Third point is deliver small batches of work continuously as a sustainable pace. Small batches of work not only enable us to get feedback faster, they enable us to not build things of lesser value which often get thrown into a project. Dr. Goldratt, creator of the theory of constraints, TOC, once remarked, often reducing batch size is all it takes to bring a system back into control. By delivering consumable solutions frequently, we can adjust what's really needed and avoid building things that aren't. By consumable, we mean that it is usable, desirable, and functional. It fulfills the stakeholder needs. Solution refers to something that may include software, hardware, changes to the business process, changes to the organizational structure of the people using the solution, and of course, any supporting documentation. 4. Attend to delays by managing queues. By attending to queues, work waiting to be done, we can identify bottlenecks, remove them using concepts from lean, theory of constraint, and Kanban. This eliminates delays in workflow that create extra work. Number 5, improve continuously. Optimizing flow requires continuous learning and improvement. The process goal, evolve WoW, captures strategies to improve our team's work environment, our process, and our tooling infrastructure over time. Choosing our way of working is done on a continuous basis. This learning is not just we work, but what we are working on. Probably the most significant impact of Eric Rice's work in lean startup is the popularization of the experimentation mindset. The application of fundamental concepts of the scientific method to business. This mindset can be applied to process improvement following a guided continuous improvement (GCI) strategy that we described in chapter 1. Validating our learning is one of the guidelines of the DA mindset. Improve continuously is also one of the promises that disciplined agilists make to one another. See below. Sixth point is prefer long-lived dedicated product teams. A very common trend in the agile community is the movement away from project teams to cross-functional product teams. This leads us to the next principle, that is organize around product services. So here is the next principle, organize around product oblique services. There are several reasons why it is critical to organize around the product and services, are more simply offerings that we provide to our customers. What we mean by this is that we don't organize around job function, such as having a sales group, business analysis group, better analytics group, vendor management group, a project management group, and on. The do so is the overhead time required to manage the work across these disparate teams and aligning differing priorities of these teams. Instead, we build dedicated teams focused on delivering an offering for one or more customers. These teams will be cross-functional in that they include people with sales skill, business analysis skill, management skill, and so on. Organizing around products oblique services enables us to identify and optimize the flow that count, which are value streams. We'll find that a collection of related offerings will define a value stream that we provide to our customers, and this value stream will be implemented by the collection of teams for those offerings. The value stream layer of the DA toolkit, captured by a DA Flex lifecycle, was described in chapter 1. Organizing around product services enables us to be laser focused on delighting customers. Stephen Denning calls this the law of the consumer, that everyone needs to be passionate about and focused on adding value in their customers. That is Denning. Ideally, these are expected customers, the people or organizations that our organization exists to serve. But sometimes these are also internal customers as well, other groups or people whom we are collaborating with so as to enable them to serve their customers more effectively. Within a value stream, the industry has found that dedicated cross-functional product teams that stay together over time are the most efficient in practice. Having said that, there will always be the project-based work as well. Chapter 6 shows the disciplined agile sports life cycle that are suited for project teams as well as dedicated product teams. Always remember, choice is good. Next principle is enterprise awareness. When people are enterprise aware, they are motivated to consider the overall needs of their organization to ensure that what they are doing contributes positively to the goals of the organization and not just to the suboptimal goals of their team. This is an example of the lean principle of optimizing the whole. In this case, the whole is the organization, or at least the value stream, over local optimization in the team level. Enterprise awareness positively changes people's behavior in several important ways. First, they are more likely to work together closely with enterprise professionals to seek their guidance. These people, such as enterprise architects, product managers, finance professionals, auditors, and senior executives, are responsible for our organization's business and technical strategies and for evolving our organization's overall vision. Second, enterprise aware people are more likely to leverage and evolve existing assets within our organization, collaborating with the people responsible for those assets, such as data, code, and proven patterns or techniques, and so on. Third, they are some likely to adopt and follow common guidance, tailoring it where need be, thereby increasing overall consistency and quality. Fourth, they are to share their learnings across teams, thereby speeding up organization's overall improvement efforts. In fact, one of the process blades of DA, continuous improvement, is focused on helping people to share learnings. Fifth, enterprise-aware people are more likely to be willing to work in a transparent manner, although they expect reciprocity from others. There is the potential for negative consequences as well. Some people believe that enterprise awareness demands absolute consistency in processes by teams, not realizing the context counts and that every team needs to make their own process decisions within bounds are what's commonly called guardrails. Enterprise awareness can lead some people into a state of analysis paralysis where they are unable to make a decision because they are overwhelmed by the complexity of the organization. Here we have a small little cartoon, uh, two people, one person and a lady sitting around a coffee machine, standing around a coffee machine. The man says, as Scrum Master, I try to protect the team from others. And the lady responds, disciplined agile teams prefer to collaborate with other teams. Let us move on to the next page. We promise to. Because disciplined agilists believe in the disciplines principles of DA, they promote to adopt behaviors that enable them to work both within their team and with others more effectively. These promises are designed to be synergistic in practice and they have positive feedback cycles between them. The promises of the DA mindset are: number one, create psychological safety and embrace diversity. Two, accelerate value realization. Three, collaborate proactively. Four, make all work and workflow visible. Five, improve predictability. Six, keep workloads within capacity. Seven, improve continuously. So, taking them one by one, promise number one, create psychological safety and embrace diversity. Psychological safety means being able to show and employ oneself without fear of negative consequences of status, career, or self worth. We should be comfortable being ourselves in our work setting. In a 2015 study at Google found that successful teams provide psychological safety for team members, that team members are able to depend on one another. There is structure and clarity around roles and responsibilities, and people are doing work that is both meaningful and impactful to them. Psychological safety goes hand in hand with diversity, which is the recognition that everyone is unique and can add value in different ways. The dimensions of personal uniqueness include, but are not limited to, race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientations, agile, physical abilities, socioeconomic status, religious beliefs, political beliefs, and other ideological beliefs. Diversity is critical to a team's success because it enables great innovation. The more diverse our team, the better our ideas will be, the better our work will be, and the more we learn from each other. There are several strategies that enable us to nurture psychological safety and diversity within a team. For example, number one is be respectful. Everyone is different with different experiences and different preferences. None of us is the smartest person in the room. Respect what other people know that we don't and recognize that they have a different and important point of view. Then be humble. In many ways, this is key to having a learning mindset and to being respectful. Be ethical and trustworthy. People will feel safer working and interacting with us if they trust us. Trust is built over time through a series of actions and can be broken instantly by one action. 4. Make it safe to fail. There is a catchy phrase in Agile called fail fast. We prefer Al Shalloway's advice: make it safe to fail so you can learn fast. The idea is to not hesitate to try something even if it may fail, but the focus should be on learning safely and quickly. Not that safely refers both to psychological safety and the safety of our work. As we learned in chapter 1, the aim of guided continuous improvement is to try out new ways of working with the expectation that they will work for us while being prepared to learn from our experiment if it fails. Next promise is accelerate value realization. An important question to ask is, what is value? Customer value, something that benefits the end customer who consume the product service that our team helps to provide, is what Agilists typically focus on. This is clearly important, but in disciplined Agile, we are very clear that teams have a range of stakeholders, including external and customers. So, shouldn't we provide value to them as well? Mark Schwartz, in Art of Business Value, distinguishes between two types of value: customer value and business value. Business value addresses the issue that some things are of benefit to our organization and perhaps only indirectly to our customer. For example, investing in enterprise architecture is reusable infrastructure, and in sharing innovation across our organization offer the potential to improve consistency, quality, reliability, and reduce costs over the long term. These things have great value to our organization, but but may have little direct impact on customer value. Yet working in an enterprise aware manner such as this is clearly a very smart thing to do. There are several ways that we can accelerate value realization. First of all, work on small high value items. By working on the most valuable thing right now, we increase the overall return on investment of our efforts. By working on small things and releasing them quickly, we reduce the overall cost of the delay and our feedback cycle by getting our work into the hands of the stakeholders quickly. This is a very common strategy in the Agile community and is arguably a fundamental of Agile. Reuse existing assets. Our organization very likely has a lot of great stuff that we can take advantage of, such as existing tools, systems, source of data, standards, and many other assets, but we need to choose to look for them. We need to be supported in getting access to them and learning about them. We may need to do a bit of work to improve upon the assets to make them fit our situation. One of the guidelines of the DA mindset described later in this chapter is to leverage and enhance organizational assets. Third and last point here is collaborate with the other teams. An easy way to accelerate value realization is to work with others to get the job done. Remember the old saying, many hands make light work. Next promise is collaborate proactively. Disciplined agilists strive to add value to the whole, not just to their individual work or to the team's work. The implication is that we want to collaborate both within our teams and with others outside our team, and we also want to be proactive doing so. Waiting to be asked is passive. Observing that someone needs help and then volunteering to do so is proactive. We have observed that that are three important opportunities for proactive collaboration. Number one, within our team, we should always be focused on being awesome, on working with and helping out our fellow team members. So if we see that someone is overloaded with work or is struggling to work through something, don't just wait to ask, but instead volunteer to help. With our stakeholders, awesome teams have a very good working relationship with their stakeholders, collaborating with them to ensure what they do is what the stakeholders actually need. Number three, across organizational boundaries. In chapter 1, we discussed how an organization is a complex adaptive system of teams interacting with other teams. Next promise is make all work and workflow visible. Disciplined agile teams and individual team members make all their work and how they are working visible to others. This is often referred to as radical transparency, and the idea is that we should be open and honest with others. Not everyone is comfortable with this. Organizations with traditional methods have a lot of watermelon projects, green on the outside and red in the inside, by which we mean that they claim to do doing claim to be they claim to be doing well even though they are really in trouble. Transparency is critical for both supporting effective governance, a topic covered in great detail in chapter 27, and for enabling collaboration as people are able to see what others are currently working. Disciplined agile teams will often make their work visible at both the individual level as well as the team level. It is critical to focus on our work in process, which is more than the work in progress. Work in progress is what we are currently working on. Work in progress is our work in progress plus any work that is queued up waiting for us to get to be done. Disciplined agile is focused on work in progress as a result. Disciplined agile teams make their workflow visible and thus have explicit workflow policies so that everyone knows how everyone else is working. This supports collaboration because people have agreements as to how they're going to work together. It also supports process improvement because it enables us to understand what is actually happening and thereby increases the chance that we can detect where we have potential issues. It is important that we are both agnostic and pragmatic in the way that we work as we want to do the best that we can in the context that we face. Next promise is improve predictability. Disciplined agile teams strive to improve their predictability to enable them to collaborate and self-organize more effectively and thereby to increase the chance that they will fulfill any commitment that they make to their stakeholders. Many of earlier promises we have made work toward improving predictability. To see how to improve predictability, it is often useful to see what causes unpredictability, such as technical debt or overloaded team members, and to then attack those challenges. Common strategies to improve predictability include number one, pay down technical debt. Technical debt refers to the implied cost of future refactoring or rework to improve the quality of an asset to make it easy to maintain and extend. When we have significant technical debt, it becomes difficult to predict how much effort work will be. Working with high quality assets in is much easier than working with low quality assets because most technical debt is hidden. We don't really know what invokes that source code we are just about to change, as we don't know what's really behind that wall we are about to pull down. As we renovate our kitchen, it often presents us with unpredictable surprises when we get into the work. Paying down technical debt, described by the process goal improve quality, chapter 18, is an important strategy to increasing the predictability of our work. Next point is respect work in process limits. When people are working closer to or at their maximum capacity, then it becomes difficult to predict how long something will take to accomplish. Those 2 days worth of work might take me 3 months to accomplish because I either let it sit in my work queue for other months or I do a bit of the work at a time over a 3 month period. Worse yet, the more loaded someone becomes, the more their feedback cycle will increase in length, generating even more work for them, see below, and thus increasing their workload further. So we want to keep workloads within capacity. Another one of our promises. Adopt a test first approach. With a test first approach, we think through how we will test something before we build it. This has the advantage that our tests both specify as well as validate our work, thereby doing double duty, which will very likely motivate us to create a higher quality work product. It also increases our predictability because we will have a better understanding of what we are doing, what we are working on before actually working on it. There are several common practices that take a test first approach, including acceptance test driven development, where we capture detailed requirements via working acceptance tests, and test driven development, where our design is captured as working developer tests. These techniques are described in great deal in chapter 9 and 17 respectively. Reduce feedback cycles. A feedback cycle is the amount of time between doing something and getting feedback about it. For example, if we write a memo and then send it to someone to see what they think, and if and it then takes 4 days for them to get back to us, the feedback cycle is 4 days long. But if we work collaboratively and write the memo together, a technique called pairing, then the feedback cycle is on the order of seconds because they can see what we type and discuss it as we are typing. Short feedback cycles enable us to act quickly to improve the quality of our work, thereby improving our predictability and increasing the chance that we will delight our customer. Long feedback cycles are problematic because the longer it takes to get feedback, the greater the chance that any problems we have in our work will be built upon, thereby increasing the cost of addressing any problems because now we need to fix the original problem and anything that extends it. Long feedback cycles also increase the chance that the requirements for the work will evolve, either because something changed in the environment or because someone simply changed their mindset about what they want. In both cases, the longer feedback cycle results in more work for us to do and thereby increases our workload as discussed earlier. Next is promise keep workloads within capacity. Going beyond capacity is problematic from both a personal and productive point of view. At the personal level, overloading a person or team will often increase the frustration of the people involved, although it may motivate some people to work harder in the short time. It will cause burnout in the long term, and it may even motivate people to give up and leave because the situation seems hopeless to them. From a productivity point of view, overloading causes multitasking, which increases overall overhead. We can keep workloads within capacity by how? Number one, working on small batches. Having small batches of work enables us to focus on getting the small batch done and then move on to the next small batch. Having properly formed teams, teams that are cross-functional and sufficiently staffed increase our ability to keep workload within capacity because it reduces dependencies on others. The more dependencies we have, the less predictable our work becomes and therefore is harder to organize. Chapter 7 describes how to work with work, how to form teams effectively. Third, take a flow perspective. By looking at the overall workflow we are part of, we can identify where we are over capacity by looking for bottlenecks where work is queuing up. We can then adjust our WoW to alleviate the bottleneck, perhaps by shifting people from one activity to another where we need more capacity, or improving our approach to the activity where we have the bottleneck. Our aim, of course, is to optimize flow across the entire value stream that we are part of, not to just locally optimize our own window. Use a pull system. One of the advantages of pulling work when we are ready is that we can manage our own workload level. Next promise is improve continuously. The really successful organizations, Apple, Amazon, eBay, Facebook, Google, and more, got that way through continuous improvement. They realized that to remain competitive, they needed to constantly look for ways to improve their processes, the outcomes that they were delivering to their customers, and their organizational structures. This is why these organizations adopt a Kaizen based approach of improving via small changes. In chapter 1, we learned that we can do even better than that of taking a guided continuous improvement GCI approach that leverages the knowledge base contained within the DA toolkit. Continuous improvement requires us to have agreement on what we are improving. We have observed that teams that focus on improving on the way that they fulfill the promises described here, including improvement on the way that they improve, tend to improve faster than those that don't. Our team clearly benefits by increasing safety and diversity, improving collaboration, improving predictability, and keeping their workload within capacity. Our organization also benefits from these things as well as when we improve upon the other promises. So, uh, I suppose, I suppose we should start the guidelines from tomorrow. I don't want to delve into a completely new topic, but still we are on the same chapter. We have not gotten ourselves out of it, and I think it is going to be long enough to discuss. And hopefully, tomorrow we will be able to finish this chapter and move on to the next chapter. So here I am. We have done our 1 hour narration. Hopefully, you would have understood something out of it. Rather, I would say you would be able to make out something from whatever we have been discussing here. So, if there are any comments, or questions, or queries, naturally, I am also reading this book for the very first time, so I won't maybe I won't be able to answer you. But still, if you want to discuss something, house is open for questions. You can raise hand and you can ask the question. Kamar.
Sir, interesting thing is that एक example आपने quote की है from this book is the car. Car example जिसमें वो कह रहा है कि if we put high capacity engine in a low body, which might later on gives challenge to the overall structure of the car. तो उससे ना वो organization जो organs है ना उस पे बड़ी fit बैठती है. So it is the take of the day जो हमने आज देखा है तो overall. So this is from my side. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful, ji. Thank you very much. Ji, anyone else? Mojis?
सर थैंक यू सर. क्वेश्चन आज नहीं है कोई, लेकिन आज के टॉपिक सारे बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग थे. और आज जैसे भी कमर साहब ने भी मेंशन किया और एक आध एग्जांपल वो वाटरमेलन वाली भी, ओवरऑल बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक्स थे आज.
एग्जैक्टली बिल्कुल. जी, एनीवन एल्स? वकार साहब?
अस्सलाम वालेकुम. नहीं सर, मेरा आज ही फर्स्ट सेशन था इस पूरी बुक के लिए. तो सर जो मैंने आपकी कुछ नरेशंस, कुछ लेक्चर्स आपके एजाइल से रिलेटेड कुछ सुने इससे पहले. तो कुछ उससे भी थोड़ा सा फाउंडेशन मुझे पता था, तो अब थोड़ी सी बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो रही है. तो सर थैंक यू वेरी मच.
ये जो आज तीसरा दिन था और पहले 2 दिन के भी ये नरेशंस अवेलेबल हैं, वो भी आप देख लीजिएगा तो आपको और फायदा हो जाएगा.
थैंक यू सर. थैंक यू.
जी, अरशद साहब आपके पास आखिर में आते हैं सर. अच्छा जी, चलें. अगर देयर आर नो मोर पॉइंट्स, let's call it a day. We had a good session, I think, and probably we can call it a day. कल हम इसी टाइम पे we'll see you again, same time, same place, and we'll continue on with it. Thank you very much and take care. Khuda Hafiz.